Welcome everybody and hello, my name's Kenny. This is my channel Too Bad About Kenny, which I use as a place to talk about movies and books and what have you. If you're interested in stuff like that, feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff that helps me feel better about myself. So today I'm here to talk about Predator Badlands.
Welcome to the most dangerous planet in the universe.
Since it was announced, I've gone through ups and downs. I've been looking forward to it. I've been dreading it. I have all kinds of really complicated feelings about this stupid movie, and I'm hoping to kind of come to terms with how I actually feel about it by the end of this video. Back when this movie was first announced, I learned that Dan Trachtenberg was going to be coming back to direct, which I was very excited about. He did Prey. Prey wasn't a perfect movie. It's not my favorite in the franchise by any means, but it did a lot right. It brought the movie back to its more familiar original formula, following a group of humans who are up to doing whatever they're doing until they find themselves being hunted by a technologically advanced alien. This overpowered alien then takes them all out one by one until we're left with our last hero who has to use their resourcefulness to overcome the predator. It's a simple formula, and with that, it runs the risk of becoming tired very quickly. But that's where the genius of Prey comes in. It took advantage of the fact that predators have been coming to Earth to hunt humans for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and it took place a few hundred years ago. So even though the plot and the setting are pretty much the same, the era is different, and that's what makes it exciting. And after this movie came out, fans all over the place were excited about seeing the Predator in perhaps the Dark Ages, maybe with the ancient Greeks and Romans and even Egyptians, even as far back as cavemen. And that's the core idea that Trachtenberg really leaned into for Killer of Killers. This is basically an anthology movie where we visit different predators visiting different eras of human history. And that was an exciting concept. So when Predator Badlands was announced, I could not wait to see when this movie would take place. And then the trailers came out and we found out this is going to be a point of view movie from the Predator's perspective. I've never been a fan of learning more about the villains and the monsters of horror movies. I think the more vague and ambiguous you can make your villain in these types of movies, the better. Because whatever fans come up with in their own heads is going to be way more exciting and satisfying than what we're ever going to be given by a big studio. Imagine, even if a writer had a genius idea, whatever their idea in their head is never going to come to fruition on the big screen. These ideas have to make it through a team of writers and producers, and all they want to do is make the movie appeal to as many people as possible. So whatever core idea they started with is never going to be what ends up on the screen. It's going to fall flat and it's going to disappoint. So I basically went from very excited about this movie to not even wanting to watch it. But here I am, having watched it, so what did I think? Let me start with the goods. And as soon as I start, you're gonna see why I'm so conflicted. This whole POV from the Predator's perspective and learning more about their culture and their species. I actually liked it. I think they did a pretty good job. The whole Yautja culture, I never heard of this. And it was intriguing enough for me to actually go do some research. And I learned the Yautja has actually been part of the literary canon of this franchise for about 30 years or so. This actually came from a Predator novel from back in the 90s. And if it wasn't for this movie being on the big screen, I would have never known about this aspect of the species, the Predator species. So I actually enjoy that part of it. And even giving them their own language, I thought was very immersive. And the language they did speak, I felt to be very convincing. And I was impressed to learn the creator of the Na'vi language is the same person who actually created the language of the Yautja. Nice attention to detail that I definitely appreciated. It was also interesting having I guess basically the runt of the family be the one that we're following to try to prove himself to his family, especially his father. That was kind of an interesting touch. Not necessarily needed, but I don't think detracted from the story. It was, a way to drive the story forward. So I guess I kind of appreciate that as well. So after we get ourselves introduced to the main character, we get ourselves introduced to the planet where this movie takes place. And I got to tell you, the environment on this entire planet is one of the most well thought out environments of any Predator movie. I was thoroughly impressed with the attention to detail here. I love how everything out there is only there to kill you. I also like how the environment and the animals in it all seem to coexist as if they've been there forever. There's one scene, for instance, where there's this giant flying creature dropping things into this field of poison dart plants so it can hopefully tranquilize the predator to come down to eat it, which I thought was a brilliant little nuance of a relationship that I can really imagine these animals having with some of the plants. It's little touches like these that I feel they go a long way to lend to the authenticity of the environment you're creating. So very well done. I really enjoyed that. Also, making the choice of having the entire movie take place in the wilderness, I thought was a really good callback to some of the originals. Just having the predator run through, these thick forests and jungles really harkened back to the original, and I appreciated that. The pacing of this movie was actually pretty good from start to finish. I don't recall myself ever being bored, even in some of the moments where the movie was maybe going in a direction I wasn't a big fan of. I at least enjoyed the ride along the way. So for that, the pacing, the movie did a pretty good job. And that really has to do with their commitment of the direction they decided to take this story. It never felt apologetic. It just went forward at a very good pace, telling the story it wanted to tell. And with that, I'm going to start to move into the bad. And I'm going to start off with the tone. Again, you can see why I'm so conflicted with this movie. Because on one hand, their commitment to the tone really helped with the pacing and the storytelling. On the other hand, the tone that they chose, it's not a Predator movie. For one thing, the lighting. I mean, did every scene in this movie need to take place in broad daylight? There was nothing creepy or eerie or mysterious about anything that was happening. It was just full eye candy right there for you to see. So I would have liked to have been a little more on the edge of my seat. I mean, it was exciting, but it wasn't scary. Basically, his entire time on the planet, it felt more like an adventurous romp. I mean, this planet is literally a Yautja's worst nightmare, right? Other predators don't go here because it's too scary for them, right? It's too dangerous for them. I never felt that watching this movie. It just felt like I was watching a predator kind of, having all kinds of fun, jumping through these environments and just never being in danger. And then you add on top of that, all of these cute side characters that really don't do much to help the plot other than just be there to be cute and be funny. His main sidekick, the robot woman, is an okay character.
Good luck with your journey.
On one hand, I guess it's kind of important she's there because she does offer a lot of the exposition about the planet and kind of what's going on. But there's no reason the Predator couldn't have, downloaded some files from her and then discarded her, or even just found the information in a computer and got it that way. It doesn't need to be an actual sidekick character who says the plot out loud in a funny way to make this a cute situation. And same goes for that weird creature that he befriends for no other reason other than just to have a cute, lovable alien in the movie. I don't know why this thing is there, other than the fact that it links the character to the main villain, or at least it seems like the main villain of the movie so far. So the reason the Predator's there is because it wants to defeat the Kalisk, which is the most dangerous creature known to Predator. So this Kalisk, who we've been looking forward to meeting this whole movie, when we finally meet it, there's a giant action sequence, and the Predator basically defeats the Kalisk, or at least you think it defeats the Kalisk. The Kalisk comes back, and the next time it's there, they're friends now, and everything's okay. So any tension that you think would be ratcheted up immediately is dissolved. And it's not just the fact that there's no tension or scariness in this movie. It's the fact that it's just so unbelievable. I don't buy that this callus would be defeated by the predator and then come back only to be its friend. And that leads me to what else I didn't like about this movie is just how much of it I didn't believe. Now, with a lot of movies, I'm willing to suspend some disbelief for the sake of having a good time. But this movie took it too far again and again. When we're first introduced to the planet, the predator literally crash lands on it. It flies through all these meteors that are surrounding the planet. It damages its ship. It has to eject, plummet through the atmosphere, and then crash land on the planet. Now, assuming that this space vehicle can get damaged in a debris field, plow through the atmosphere without disintegrating, and then just crash land, not creating a giant explosion. Like this thing literally just ping pongs back and forth through a bunch of trees and then out pops the predator just fine. I mean, this is the way the movie starts. This is the way the whole journey begins. So already it sets the bar so low. It was such a disappointing way to enter this giant planet. When the predator finally does fight the giant callus, we learn that it has some regeneration property. So if you chop off a limb, it just grows right back, right? If you split it down the middle, it just merges right back together. And it does so at like a supernatural speed. Look, I know this is an alien planet. They have an entirely different evolution structure. I get all that, but it doesn't make sense to me that any life form, regardless of where, can just spontaneously grow new limbs that fast. It was way too fast. It happened right before your eyes, and I just felt like it needed more time. If they wanted to go that route of regeneration, they should have the predator beat the callus and then maybe show a couple scenes where it starts to heal itself and then we forget about it. And that gives it the opportunity to come back by the end of the movie without having completely regenerated, because the speed it went at was just way too fast. It just made me feel like I was watching something that was more magical rather than science fiction. The predator here also befriends not just that little creature, like other animals on the planet as well. Like there's this little worm that shoots out these darts, and he feeds it a couple of things, and then suddenly he has a new worm friend that hangs out around his neck. And it's so friendly with him that it actually sacrifices itself by the end to save the predator. What? Like, are we watching Snow White? This is just ridiculous. It goes way too far. It doesn't need to go there. And for some reason, they really, really ham it up with the being one with nature aspect of this movie. And that's another thing that kind of bothered me, was the fact they went this route. There's a real powerful theme in this movie that relates being sensitive with having exceptional resourcefulness, right? Being one with the environment because you're sensitive allows you to have the one up, the edge over your opponent. And that really wasn't necessary. To me, it makes more sense that the predator would just be one with the environment because it gives him the edge over his opponent. He doesn't need to be sensitive to do it, right? Like, it doesn't need to have that layer to it. It's just the predator is going to do whatever it needs to do to conquer over its foe regardless. It doesn't need to be because the predator just happens to be, so sensitive. So choices like these pulled me out of watching a Predator movie. Sure, it was entertaining, like I said before, but it did not feel like I was watching a Predator movie. So back to the tone real quick, because speaking of feeling like you're watching a Predator movie, I could imagine that if they really wanted to have this be a very well-lit, adventurous movie, they could do that, okay? But there needs to be at least something in there that is horrific or creepy or eerie or something. So here's what I'm thinking. Imagine this predator goes down to this planet to fight the callus. It discovers that it lives in a deep, dark cave. So the predator goes into the cave, it's dark, it's eerie, there's some tension, maybe the predator's being hunted, maybe the predator's doing the hunting, we don't quite know. Maybe we start to worry, oh boy, is the predator gonna be able to get out of this? Maybe he loses the first battle and barely escapes with his life, he leaves the cave and then gathers up some resources, learns some things in the environment, and then goes back in prepared to actually fight the Callus in that really dark, haunting, creepy atmosphere. There's no reason we couldn't have something like that, where the majority of the movie was a fun romp, but at least we had a few moments that were very creepy and eerie, just to give you that sense that you're actually watching a Predator movie. So when I put everything together and I think, do I like this movie? I liked quite a bit about this movie. I feel like the movie they set out to make, they did a good job. They didn't necessarily set out to make a Predator movie, and that makes me very disappointed. So I think my feelings about this movie might mostly depend on what happens from here. Where does the franchise go? If the following sequels return to the original format, more horrific, following humans, not the Predator, I think Badlands could be a fun one-off, right? An exciting movie to watch with some of your friends, knowing that, this is our one little romp we have with the Predator, and then we go back to business. I can have a lot of fun with that, and I can get behind something like that. But if they use this movie as inspiration for the following sequels, and we get more romps with different Predators and learn more about the lore of the Yautja, that's not something that I want to watch or I think is good for the franchise. So if we get more like this, I hate this movie. This is not the direction I want to see the Predator go in. Fun for a one-off, not so good for a direction for the franchise. So we'll see where we go from here. I heard Trachtenberg also has more ideas up his sleeves for where to take this franchise. We'll see where he goes. So far, I think I do like where he's taken the franchise so far. I just hope that he doesn't go off the deep end and keep taking it down this rabbit hole. I think he's explored the rabbit hole far enough. Let's bring it back and let's take the franchise back to where it needs to go. I understand that bringing the franchise back to its original formula can get old. It can get tired. It can get, like you're rehashing the same thing over and over again. I get it. But for me, for an actual fan of the original Predators, I don't see a problem with that. I love the original. I love number 2. They're both some of my favorite movies. Let me know in the comments below, not just what you think about the movie, but the direction you'd like to see the franchise go. Because I know what I think. Let's bring it back. Let's go Predator horror. Yeah, enough of this Disney Predator. Give me some horror Predator.
Too bad about Kenny, huh? Life in the big city.